All right, 2019 Volkswagen Tiguan 132 TSI R-Line. So this is Volkswagen's mid-size SUV that is in one of the hottest market segments, not just in Australia, but really in the entire world, because these mid-size SUVs just sell like crazy these days. And the Tiguan is one of the ones that does perform quite well, and it's not without reason. It's been well regarded by critics since the moment these things first came out. But I've never really spent all that much time living with a Tiguan. But I haven't really lived with a Tiguan at all. I've only driven the Tiguan briefly on a racetrack of all the places in the world a couple of years ago at one of those Volkswagen Driver Experience Day things. They had a couple of 162 TSI R-Line models there to do in a slalom event, a cone weave sort of thing. And the whole point of using the Tiguan was to showcase that it actually corners a lot better than you might expect. And certainly, I was very impressed with how it went in that demonstration. So I was really excited coming into this week actually to see what it's like to really live with one of these things, since my brief first impressions were very positive. The limited run 132 TSI edition on test here might command nearly a $4,000 premium over the regular Comfort line, but it certainly makes the extra spend worthwhile when you start looking around. On the outside, the sportier body kit and wheel design really sets it off and gives it a determined look. The inside is the real star of the show, however, with a steering wheel nabbed right from the Golf R and comfortable and supportive R-branded seats clad in a trifecta of cloth, Alcantara and leather, although they are only manually adjustable. The back seat is pretty excellent too, especially with the added touch of some handy picnic tables. Oh yeah, and not only is the interior incredibly spacious, but the boot is amply large as well. Now, not only is this interior really spacious and comfortable, but the materials and all the stuff you get in here feels really nice and high quality too. Sure, it's not like luxury brand level stuff. There's not leather absolutely everywhere, and there's a fair amount of use of plastic, but none of it feels egregiously bad, except for one tiny little bit down here by the door handle. That feels really scratchy and nasty and horrible. But other than that, all the materials are really nice. A little bit of stitched leather on the door cards. Steering wheel feels great as well. This R-Line branded wheel, awesome. The other really good thing about this interior is the technology that it has on offer. Now, in front of me, I've got a really lovely digital gauge cluster. It's super customizable. You can change the layout and what information is displayed to your heart's content. I will say it's perhaps not quite as slick as something like the Audi virtual cockpit system, which is pretty much regarded the best one of these digital displays universally, but this is really good. The other thing I like is the infotainment system as well. It's pretty simple to use, straightforward. There aren't any physical buttons, but there are sort of shortcut touch sensitive things which are meant to be like buttons, and they give you a little bit of haptic feedback, but yeah, they're okay. Does the job fine though. What I don't like is that the volume knob doesn't stay the right way up. Like the little power sign on top of it, it doesn't always point upwards. It moves around as you turn it, and that's really, really annoying. But I do like the display itself. Crystal clear, lots of different information you can show on it. My favorite are these awesome customizable gauges that you can have in there as well, with stuff like your boost pressure and a G meter and how much power you're making. Really cool to have. And on that note of performance information and sporty touches like that, I guess we better get on to what I care about most, which is the way this Tiguan drives, which is, to summarise it briefly, fantastic. I really enjoy the way this thing drives. First and foremost, even though this is the baby engine, 132 kilowatts, it's plenty of power for this thing. I was a little worried coming into it. I thought it was going to feel a little bit underpowered, and certainly if you just bury your foot in a straight line and expect it to take off like a rocket ship, yeah, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. But there's so much mid-range response from this thing that it just feels far meatier than you might expect. That's perhaps helped out by what is a brilliant gearbox, this 7-speed DSG. I mean, you'd expect it to be good. Volkswagen did invent these dual clutch gearboxes after all, and it is just superb, this thing. I mean, listen to how quick this is. Ready? There's a gear. There's a gear. There's another gear. It's lightning fast. It's just superb. Absolutely fantastic. The other good thing about it as well is it's surprisingly smooth. Some dual clutch gearboxes can feel a little bit jerky at times. This one, it only sort of does when you're driving at like mid-throttle applications and you kind of catch it off guard when you ask it to downshift or something. And if there is any criticism, it's that the downshifts aren't quite as fast as these brilliant upshifts. They could be a little bit more prompt in some regards, especially when you're in sport mode and you're trying to really get it to bang into gears. But again, it's all just nitpicking at the end of the day, because even they are a lot faster than you'd get in a lot of other dual clutches, torque converters, or any other sort of automatic transmission out there. At low throttle applications, it's really smooth too, far smoother than you would expect from a dual clutch. So, I mean, over the years that Volkswagen's been making these things, they've clearly got them dialed in, because it just makes this thing such fun. It really does extract all this engine has to give really effectively. It's brilliant. Top marks, almost, I would say, in the transmission department. Very handy having the 4Motion all-drive system as well. It is a Haldex type system, so front-wheel drive most of the time, and then it feeds up to 50% of the power to the back wheels on demand. You can sort of feel it shuffling that power around when you're really going at it, which is good. It's good that you can tell what it's doing. You do get a surprising amount of feedback in that regard from this thing. And yeah, you can tell that it is really well dialed in, especially in sport mode, using the paddles in manual. It's just so much fun. It's more fun than you really would expect. That is the biggest surprise for me driving this thing. Steering is great too. Like, there's no play, no lag at all. Super quick, super responsive. Brilliant steering rack. Not like the most amount of feedback. What there is, you can tell it's very artificial and fed in, but it does a convincing enough job of letting you know where the front wheels are pointed. And through these bends, as I learnt at that brief little track day encounter with one of these things in the past, it does stay remarkably flat through the bends. It's super composed. You can get a little bit of understeer at times. That's just the nature of most of these SUVs, though. Having slightly higher profile tyres than you would on something like a sports car. I just drove past a Mazda MX-5 then. Something like that, obviously, with low profile tyres, you're not going to get that same flex in the sidewall that can lead to oversteer that you will in this. But what there is very minimal and managed quite well. That's a tight one there. And it handles it very nicely. It's really very good, this thing. You wouldn't expect a sort of top-heavy SUV like this to be such a driver-focused car, but it really is. I mean, even stuff like the angle of the infotainment screen, because it's low down and it is set in the dashboard, so those of you who aren't fans of the tacked-on screens will be very happy about that. It's angled up so that you can see it perfectly from where you're sitting in here. The steering wheel is designed perfectly to fit your hands, flat bottom too, which is nice. Paddle shifters are nice to use. Everything's where you expect it to be. The seat holds you in nicely with not too aggressive bolstering, but it is just the right amount. It's really brilliant, this thing. I'm very, very surprised at how good it is. And especially when you consider, all in all, I think this one with all its options is somewhere around the $48,000, $49,000 mark. Yeah, I think it's well priced for what you're getting. It drives like a car worth that much money. It just feels really great. I'm super impressed with this thing. And I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I do. I mean, I was expecting to like it, definitely. I mean, I've always liked the look of these things, and obviously from brief encounters with them before, I like the way they drive. But being able to spend, nearly 800 kilometers behind the wheel of this thing now, it's really, really shown to me just how good it really is. And I'm very impressed. I'm very, very impressed. That's it from me. Volkswagen Tiguan. Very fun. Very, very fun little car, this thing. And it is little. It's not actually that much bigger than a normal sort of Golf-sized thing. That's probably part of what the appeal is. Anyway, I'll stop putting new points into my conclusion because I recall from English class that you're not meant to do that. Anyway, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the Volkswagen Tiguan? Make sure you go to the drivesection.com website as well to go and check out our full written review with lots of nice photos of this thing in there as well. And I will see you next time.